Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 47th Annual General Meeting of the St Kilda Club. And indeed, the first such meeting as a Scottish charitable incorporated organisation, in case you can't remember what SCIO stands for. I don't know, I go away for 2 years, 2 years ago. I missed last year's AGM, and I come back this year to find it's all changed. SCIO? Okay. We're now the SCIO, so some things never change, and that is the welcome that the club offers to all its members, be they first-timers or old hands. Sadly, there are always members who cannot be here, as they have passed on during the year, and this year is no exception, with some Ken-Spickle characters. Most of you will remember our past president for 22 years, up until retiring in 2017, George Thompson. I received the news yesterday evening that George died peacefully on Friday morning in Mearns House, where he had resided happily for the last few years, just 2 months before his own centenary. Most of you will remember, Julie Evans, who was a member of the club, and she was a regular visitor, tells me that George's health had declined in the last few months. And while he was frail, he remained still so interested in the news of St Kilda and the St Kilda Club. She last visited him on the 31st of October and told him of the mailboat that had just been recovered after 10 years from launching. And he was astonished and amazed. They chuckled as they speculated where the boat had spent the 10 years. Julie was a good friend of and to George, having established this some 35 years ago. And I'll get my notes in a minute. My fingers that don't work now. And she was a visitor to Mearns House as long as George had been there, since about 2019. And she assured me that the care he received there was excellent. Funeral arrangements are not yet known, but I suggest that we post them on the website once we do know. Another recent death on 18th October took away a member who had a long association. John Love was the author of A Natural History of St Kilda. From 1975 to 1985, he was working for the Nature Council on Rum, managing the reintroduction of the white-tailed sea eagle. He later took up a position with the Scottish Natural Heritage as area officer for Uist, Barra and St Kilda until he retired in 2006 to concentrate.
I think Alistair might have just frozen, so if we just give him a second to see if he's going to come back. Okay, no, we'll give him a couple. We'll give it. Oh, he's kicked out, so hopefully he'll be back with us in a second. We just give Alistair just a second just to come back, and I'll just let a few more people in at the same time, and hopefully it's a minor blip and he'll be back with us in a second. So, and if not, just I'll let Pauline do item 2 and then we'll go back to Alistair. Pauline, do you want to do item 2 and then we'll come back to Alistair when he reconnects? Oh, no, yet. No, he hasn't come back yet. So do you want to do item 2 and then we'll come back to Alistair when he comes back on?
Yeah, sure. So apologies for absence, relatively few, but the names that I have are Marcelia McKinnon, who sent me a very lovely note card, I have to say. John King, Leonard Smith, Mike and Jenny Butler, and also Susan Bain, our National Trust for Scotland representative. That's all the apologies I have. So sorry, Julie, I didn't spin that out for very long, did I?
You didn't all, did you? So, no, I knew it wasn't a very long list at all. Okay, then we'll keep going, and then we'll go back to Alistair, because I know that he's got more people that he wants to talk about. So, and he's still not quite popped back up yet. So, item 3 on the agenda is the annual report on the activities of the club by me. So, I am going to attempt to share my screen, and hopefully, we'll have a PowerPoint presentation. So. And let me just go to slideshow, which is not working. I'm beginning. Right, here we go. So hopefully everyone's got a screen in front of them with the chairman's report. So basically, really, it's welcome to 2023's AGM. So it's been I say it's been a quiet year, but obviously we've had quite a lot going on in the background, as Alistair said about the Skio. So on the island, we had the 3 rangers that we had last year back on island, which was fantastic. So we had Sue Lochran as the main ranger, Craig Nisbet as the seabird ranger, and Claire Henderson as the archaeologist, which is really, really good for consistency on the island to have the same people going back every year, because it just helps. It just means it's got more consistency, which is really, really good. The St Kilda Club shop ran as a pop-up shop in the schoolroom again this year. There was plans to do some work on the schoolroom and church. However, there was logistical issues, which mean they didn't happen, because there was going to be, the shop was in a bit of a limbo where it was actually going to be based. However, that issue has been now moved to 2024, as it wasn't needed to be dealt with in 2023. I know that Susan has got some plans in place for where it will be in 2024, so watch for space. This year, the board had its first in-person board meeting, because since lockdown. As up to then, we've been doing them online on Zoom, and we all got together in March in Edinburgh, which was really nice, and up at the National Trust of Scotland headquarters. And then we've kind of introduced a more kind of mixed sort of meetings for the for like moving forward, with some in person and then some on Zoom. And we're all going to be getting together, the board members, on Friday in Edinburgh at the Zoo, before obviously the reunion on Saturday, which leads nicely to my next slide. So the reunion will be on Saturday, the 18th of November. So this Saturday now coming, the board will be getting together on the Friday, as I said. And for those of you who already read the agenda for Saturday, you'll see that after last year's new format, it went down really, really well with you all, and we've continued with a very similar format for this year. So the doors open at 11 o'clock with the St Kilda Club pop-up shop in the education centre. However, the zoo is open from 10 a.m. and for those of you who may have heard already, the pandas are actually going to China. So this could be one of the last opportunities to go and see the pandas, if you so wish, at the zoo, before coming along at 11 o'clock to the shop and to mix with everybody. So Alice has just come back in, so I'm just going to hopefully get him joined up and see whether or not. Okay, that's fine. So basically, just for the reunion, again, there's always a lot of work that goes into the reunion, and I just want to say a big thank you to Fiona, Colin, Kate, Emma and John, who basically arrange it every year and make sure that you have the itinerary and the people and the speakers. I know we've got 2 excellent speakers this year, Ellie Owen and Alistair McKechnie, who'll be talking about their topics, which will be really, really interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Saturday. I'm not sure what happened there. So as always, we've got the pop-up shop, like I just said. And again, for this year, Sue Lochran on the islands and Ahusha are running the shop on the island, and which is fantastic. And it wouldn't actually be the success it is without all the work that she does. Pauline will be talking to you about the figure side of it, so I'll leave that bit there. And, you know, as always, thanks to everybody who's involved with the shop, and for those of you who support it and buy from it, which is always very good. And of course, Marion, who runs it, which is always fantastic. As Alistair touched on, we have changed from a limited company to a SCIO this year. At the last AGM, you probably remember that we voted, or we asked you to vote on whether we'd be happy for us to change the constitution of the club to being a SCIO, and which was approved. And the subcommittee has been working very hard getting all the documentation together. It was submitted in June, and with the idea that we'd be able to get it through before the end of the financial year, at the end of September. And I think we're all a bit surprised when in July we were accepted and it all went through and we became a SCIO in July. So there's a lot of time and hard work has gone into this. And so again, I just want to say thank you to the team behind it, in particular John Wilson, and all the work that's gone through. And John will be talking in a moment, because all the board members, the current board members, have to be reapply to be board members, but now trustees of the SCIO, and and then be elected on. But John will cover that in agenda items 5 and 6. Just a quick social media update. So as you can see, our numbers have increased slightly. We haven't done as much on social media this year, and that's just really because from a personal point of view, there's just been other commitments. So it is something that I want to spend a bit more time on next year, and Emma and I will put together a bit of a plan and get ourselves a bit more organized and hopefully a bit more time to do more on it. So we're always looking for content. So if anyone's got content on things and posts, and things that you've done, if you've been out to the island, please share your photographs. Would be always much appreciated. And if you're a member of the group as well, you always share your photographs with us. So X, formerly known as Twitter, our numbers have dropped slightly, but we really don't use it as much as we used to. And Emma set up an Instagram account recently, and I don't think we've actually told anyone we've set it up, which is why we have 6 followers on it. So if you're on Instagram and you want to have a look, I know that from the photographic competition that will be coming up at the reunion, that Emma will be sharing all the pictures on it afterwards as well. So if you're on Instagram and you want to come and follow us, then please do. The Facebook group has continued to grow, which is really good as well. So and if you're on Facebook and you're not a member, then please join up. And the e-newsletter as well. If you don't get the e-newsletter from us, then please just sign up online on the website and you can do that. And just a few social media thank yous. Obviously, we couldn't put out the content we do without the guys on the NTS guys on the island, and also from Jill and the Soe Sheep Project as well. And also thank you to Emma for all the help that she does. When I've been busy running around this year, she's been the one who's been up there putting posts on. So thank you, Emma. So St Kilda Club Book Group is continued to meet over the last 12 months. And we've had quite a good few books in 2023. We read Rewriting St Kilda by Bob Chambers. We also read The Truth About St Kilda, which we had a fascinating meeting when Peggy, who is Donald John's daughter, joined us, along with John Gillies, our Marion, the shop convener, and also Alistair Fleming. So it was a really nice get together for the 4 of them. And actually after that, Marion, we actually went on holiday to Canada and met up with Peggy in Vancouver. So that was very nice indeed. And then our last book we discussed was The Prisoner of St Kilda by Margaret Macaulay. And we were joined by Margaret's, both her daughters and her granddaughter, who hadn't read the book until this time. And it was a really interesting insight of what Margaret, her research process behind it. And in January 24, I'm sure that the non-romantic readers amongst us are not looking forward to this one, but I'm sure it'll be fine. We're reading Karen Swan's The Last Summer, which does look like it's got a bit of a romantic edge. And we've also arranged for Karen to be joining us the week after to discuss the book as well. And in 2024, we're looking to read David Boddington's book, St Kilda Diary. I'm going to leave Alistair to discuss that bit in a bit more detail. If you're not in book club and you want to join, there's a link on the website, and there's also a Facebook group. And that's basically all I've got from a chairman report for you all. And I'm now going to hand you back to Alistair so he can finish his talk. So one moment. Okay, Alistair, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back. How far had I got?
You were talking about George.
George?
Yeah, you were talking about.
You've talked about George, and you were talking about John Love. I'm not sure if you'd finished John Love.
Right. Well, I'll start John Love's again. Yeah, from 75 to 85, he was working for the NCC. on managing the reintroduction of the white-tailed sea eagle. He later took up a position with Scottish Natural Heritage as area officer for Uist, Barra and Kilda, until he retired in 2006 to concentrate on writing and lecturing, both on dry land and on cruise ships. John was 77 years old when he died suddenly in his cottage in South Uist. John's brother and family have asked the club to receive the donations collected at his funeral service in Inverness and at a streamed showing in Grimsby. These to be held until a suitable project of the NTS or the club can be identified and agreed with the families. As these things often go in threes, we've been advised of the death in May at the age of 90 of Dr. David Bonington. David was the author of the St Kilda Diary, which was a record of his diary entries he made at the time he was medical officer in 1958-59. And he had various other roles in addition to being medical officer, including post office, etc., etc. David and Marianne were faithful attendees at the AGM and reunion, coming all the way from Herefordshire over the 60 years that he's been involved. And 3 years ago, we were honoured that he accepted our offer of an honorary member to be an honorary member of the club. And that, fortunately, is all we have of the deceased people. But I must turn now to another departure from the board. Jeff Stone, who's been a vice president since about 2009, I think. Jeff has decided that it's time to hang up his boots and his hearing aid and give the St Kilda Club a rest. But Jeff has been a fantastic servant to the club. I think he's probably been on more work parties than any other single person. He was in 18 work parties, 15 of which he was a leader. I think he's certainly led more than most others, as far as I'm aware. He did his stint as chairman for 10 years, from about 1998, and that was a time when we were looking at the club at the time and formalising it into a limited company and applying for charitable status, because we were starting to make a little bit of money, so we thought we'd protect it. So that was pretty hard going. We've just gone through the process of becoming a SKIO now, which was hard enough, but the initial limited company was not an easy changeover either, as I'm sure Jeff would agree. He's helped with the photo competition at the reunions for a number of years as well. And I think Jeff's been on the committee for a total of about 33 years now, which is an amazing innings. So I would just like to and all the people he's brought to the club. I mean, when you lead 15 work parties, that's quite a number of people that you're encouraging to join the club. So it's good on you, Jeff, to have brought all these people aboard and kept them here and see them every year at the reunion. So thank you from me and from the rest of the board and from the club for all that you've done over these 33 years. Thank you. And I think that's me.
No, that's great, Alistair. No, and yeah, I'm sure you can all agree all agree with Alistair about Jeff. So thank you, Jeff, for all your hard work. And I hope we'll continue to see you at all the reunions, and we'll do you proud. No, thank you. Right, next up is item 4, which is over to you, Pauline, and I will just share your presentation. So give me 2 seconds. There we go.
Okay, so this is my second year as treasurer, fully on. And just a sort of quick reminder, as you've heard, we're now a SCIO, no longer a limited company in the club. The shop is still a private limited company, and this presentation is for the financial year that finished on the 30th of September this year. Okay, next slide, please. Hello, Julie. Yeah, great. Is it just a little bit of time lag in the ether?
I don't think I was actually, I don't think I was clicked on it, which I think is what went wrong.
Okay, right.
I'm there now, don't
this
worry.
presentation, yes, so we're there now, we'll get there. So since the club financial year only just ended, sort of, at the end of September, I've been pretty full on to get this done and all the information available so that we know where we are. But I also agreed with our accountants that they would deal with it as quickly as possible for me this year. So Wilma said, "Oh, pencil you in for the first 2 weeks of October and we'll get it done." So we've got it done before all her other tax work priorities overtakes her. And this is the same company of accountants that we've used for several years, going back to before my time, in terms of doing the accountancy. And Wilma, our main accountant who does all the legwork, is actually based on Shetland. So we'll publish the accounts in the April to May 2024 version of St Kilda Mail, and also put them online to the website, or you can request them directly from me as company secretary. Next slide, please. So looking firstly at the shop, despite what you just heard from Julie about the ongoing fact that the shop is just running on the honesty shop basis on the island, and the uncertainty over where it was going to be this year, it's had a good year in terms of its turnover. We actually had increased takings on the island, up from 31,500 the previous year to 35,000 this year, and the online shop sales have gone up as well. So that's been pretty good. Online sales, not as much as we had during COVID, but obviously during COVID, we had no opportunity to sell things on the island. Gross profit is similar, but the net profit, for various reasons that I'll come on to on the next slide, is a little bit down, but still a good sort of profit from the shop to go to the club. So next slide, please. So the whole plan with the shop is to make a decent profit in sales, which then translates into a donation to the club account, which in turn, with the other donations that we receive, allows us to make donations to National Trust for Scotland for good works on St Kilda, pursuing our aims and objectives, or to deliver our own projects on the island. So while we're able to still make a significant donation to the club, there've been a combination of factors that mean slightly lower profit margins this year. Some increased costs. We're not immune to inflation, so purchase prices have gone up. Last year, we had a bigger benefit from selling off old stock, which had been written down during COVID. And the fact we are still running an honesty shop does limit the range and the value of the stock we can actually offer for an honesty box system. And just so you know, the cost of goods sold is primarily the cost of actually buying the things that we sell, and a small reduction in the stock value compared to 2022 season. Next slide, please. So, given the slight change in the stock valuation, relatively even stock replacement, the only other asset that the club has got on the island is the electronic point of sale till. It always amuses me now when I buy things with my credit card and I see WorldPay and I think, oh, we've got a WorldPay on St Kilda. We haven't been able to use it so much as a consequence consequence of running the pop-up shop, but Sue Locker and the NTS Ranger is able to operate it, and sometimes is able to use it to sell things to the sheep project people, to workers who come out on the island. So we're still getting some value out of our somewhat aged till. But the net upshot of all the finances is that we'll be able to make a donation to the club of just over £16,000. And that will happen, it has to happen by the statutory tax deadline of the end of June 2024. So next slide, please. So looking ahead to 2024, there are plenty of goodies still online. A lot of the calendars are already sold, but I think Marion has a few left that will be coming to the reunion, and some other things that she'll be bringing up to the reunion. Buffs have pretty much sold out, but she's ordering more. And there've been T-shirts to order, as well as the T-shirts. There's the usual books and other items online. So new placemat, new little cut mats I think are coming. So there'll be a mixture of, you know, some well-loved items and some new things available both at the reunion and through the online shop. And as Julie said, we are still a little bit unsure exactly what the plan will be for shop location on island in 2024, but we're looking forward to another good season. Next slide, please. So turning to the club account, the right-hand column gives you the figures for the previous year, and then the 2022-23 column gives you the most recent figures. So it gives you an idea of how things compare. Again, a good shop donation, a good mix of other donations and bequests. Subscriptions are holding pretty much steady. Keith's done a lot of hard work making sure that the membership database is fully up to date. We went through the process of updating membership subscriptions last year, and thank you to everybody who got that sorted, updated their memberships or paid top-up fees, and have now changed your subscriptions online. And thanks as well to people who've paid subscriptions early for the following year. Those, you know, advanced subscriptions are not counted in the accounts for the end of 2022-23. We also started earning a bit more income on deposit accounts because suddenly, there, along with inflation, there is a bit of interest earnings. So we've opened a new deposit account with a better interest rate to take advantage of that. The gift aid figures, last year was an exceptional year because we made a back claim of several years worth, but this year, again, Keith's done a sterling job of getting gift aid all calculated for the year that's just finished, and we're about to submit our claim on that. So that's gone into this year's accounts. And again, thank you very much to members who do give gift aid. If you've ticked the box, it's a very well worthwhile thing to do. Appreciate that some people don't pay sufficient income tax to do that, but if you can do, we always welcome fresh gift aid statements. Next slide, please. So what have we spent money on? Well, again, the two columns, the previous year's figures on the right and the new year's figures on the left. For the first time last November, we were able, after COVID, we were able to hold an in-person AGM again, reunion again. So that's why the figures are higher for the reunion costs, which obviously come in at quite a large amount. We made a very big one-off donation to the National Trust the previous year. The year that's just finished, we've not made a donation. We are waiting for Susan to finalise plans for the church roof schoolroom project, and the board has agreed in principle to make a significant donation to that when the project is ready to run. But we await the new season on the island. So again, putting money into a savings account where we earn some money until we donate to the National Trust is a good move. A lot of the other costs are running fairly steadily with a small amount of up or down or inflation. Large one-off accountancy, legal bill, that's the legal fees that we pay to, we've gone back to solicitors for the legal advice about converting to a SKIO. So that's why that's a large sum this year, but it won't go up to that sort of level again. That's very much a one-off to become the SKIO. Next slide, please. So the club money at the end of 2022-23 financial year, a large sum in the current bank account, cash in the new savings account, and the interest earned all added up to 144,000. So that has gone up compared to what we had at the end of 2021-22. And what we have done subsequently to this is to put quite a lot of that extra 93,000 into further savings accounts, some of it into the main savings account, and then to kind of keep managing a mixture of accessibility of funds. Some of it's gone into kind of shorter notice accounts with the Royal Bank of Scotland, who we do our current account banking with, to give us a bit more flexibility on that. And obviously, these are the figures at the end of the financial year. The shop donation of another over £16,000 will be added to this by next June. So funds remain good and will allow us to continue to make good donations towards projects on the island. And then last slide, please. Just to summarise everything across the club and the shop, and the pie chart gives you a feel of kind of how the money kind of sits between the different parts. The total amount of funds that we have between the two organisations is a total of £170,000. The difference between restricted and unrestricted club funds is that the restricted funds are earmarked and ring-fenced for projects on St Kilda in line with our overall charitable aims. And once the board agrees and allocates from the total reserve of funds into the restricted fund allocation, once we've done that, legally we can't normally move those funds out again. They have to stay in the kind of the pot that's reserved for projects and use in line with the charitable aims. So it's a balancing act of making sure we have enough money to cover from restricted funds the projects we want to support on the island, and having enough money in the unrestricted club cash to manage the running of the club, cash flow, increased inflation, and the general financial uncertainty that we have. But we do hope to move more money across to the restricted fund in due course this year, because there's more than we currently need in terms of that kind of flexibility in the unrestricted fund. All these figures are final. It's, as I said at the beginning, my second full year as treasurer. I'm still learning both about the club and some of the finer points of accountancy. And thanks again both to David Ackroyd as the previous treasurer, to all the board and to the members for ongoing support, both to my work as treasurer and to the very special islands of St Kilda. Well, that's all from me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Pauline, and thank you for all your hard work. And I know that you've been working really hard to get this turned around so in time for the meeting. So well done. It is much appreciated. Right. Okay. Next up, then, John, it's over to you wherever you are, John.
Yep.
To do item 5. So.
Okay. This item 5 is the election of the trustees. This is the first AGM under the new constitution, so all the initial trustees must retire but are eligible for re-election. The new constitution has 12 board members, and we have received 11 nominations. I'm now going to read out the nominations with proposer, seconder, and a brief biography in alphabetical order. Firstly, we have David Ackroyd, proposed by Fiona Black and seconded by Colin Govier. David joined the club in 2003. He has led and been a member of many work parties at St Kilda. He's a long-standing board member and was club treasurer for over a decade until 2021. Next, we have Fiona Black, proposed by Colin Govier, seconded by David Ackroyd. Fiona joined the club in 1996 and has been both a work party member and leader many times. She has served on the board for over 20 years in various roles and has led the annual reunion subcommittee since 2010. Emma Bottomley, proposed by Pauline Smith, seconded by Julie Hunt. Emma went on a photography trip to St Kilda in 2019. On her return, she joined the club and the board, supporting social media, the reunion subcommittee, and coordinating the photography competition. Julie Marie Ferguson, proposed by Julie Hunt, seconded by Alistair Fleming. Julie Marie is a descendant of the Fergusons of St Kilda and grew up with the tales of her ancestors' life on the island. She first visited St Kilda in 2022 and immediately joined the club. As well as her personal connection to the island, she has a wealth of experience in graphic design and communications to offer to the board. Alistair Fleming, proposed by Julie Hunt, seconded by Pauline Smith. Alistair is a descendant of the Fergusons of St Kilda. He joined the club in 1981, has led many work parties and has served on the board in various positions over the last 40 years, most recently as our president. Colin Govier, proposed by Fiona Black, seconded by David Ackroyd. Colin's interest in St Kilda goes back to a work party in the 1990s, after which he joined the club. In 1998, he took on the role of treasurer for over a decade. He has continued to serve on the board as joint editor of the St Kilda Mail and a member of the reunion subcommittee. Julie Hunt, proposed by Alistair Fleming, seconded by Emma Bottomley. Julie joined the club in 2002 whilst on a work party, and in 2013 joined the board, becoming chairman in 2018. She has set up the club's social media presence and updated its website and online presence, so as founding and running the St Kilda Book Club. She is currently our chair. Alistair McKechnie, proposed by William Cameron, seconded by Maureen Kerr. Alistair has been a club member for over 40 years and has served 2 previous terms on the board. He is a resident of Benbecula and chairs Sheila Hort, the group taking forward plans for St Kilda Visitor Centre and North Uist, as well as being a Deputy Lord Lieutenant of the Western Isles. Laura McNeil, proposed by Julie Smith, seconded by I'll start that again. Laura McNeil, proposed by Pauline Smith, seconded by Julie Hunt. I was reading the wrong line. Laura's interest in St Kilda goes back to a school project and work party in the late 1990s. She's a member of the St Kilda Book Club. She has a wealth of experience in travel administration to offer to the board. Pauline Smith, proposed by David Ackroyd, seconded by Emma Bottomley. Pauline's interest in St Kilda goes back to reading about the islands and the impressionable teenager, so not that long ago. On retirement in 2016, she went on a work party and joined the club in 2021. She joined the board and took on the role of treasurer. And lastly, myself, John Wilson, proposed by Colin Govier, seconded by David Ackroyd. John joined the club in 2005 and the board in 2011. He's a member of the reunion subcommittee and leads the articles subcommittee, which successfully updated the club's constitution and conversion to a SKIO. The number of nominations we received is less than the number of members posts available on the board. I therefore do not propose to hold an election. If no one objects to it, I will declare that all the aforementioned nominations become elected to the board. Okay, duly carried.
Thank you very much, John. And then over to item 6, John.
Okay. We have received one nomination for president, namely Alistair Fleming. I do not propose to read out his biography again, but he is proposed by Julie Hunt and seconded by Pauline Smith. Again, as there is only one candidate and one position, I do not propose to have a ballot. I therefore declare Alistair duly elected to the post of president. Next, we have the nominations for vice president. There are 3 vice president posts, but I have only received 2 nominations, namely Colin Govia, proposed by Fiona Black, seconded by David Ackroyd, and Alison McKechnie, proposed by Julie Hunt, seconded by Pauline Smith. Again, I do not propose to read out the biographies. As the number of nominations are less than the number of vacancies, I do not propose a ballot. And if there is no objection, then I declare that Colin and Alistair are elected vice presidents of the club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. That's lovely. Okay, so over to item 7, any other competent business. I don't have anything else. Has anyone got any other competent business? I don't think we do. Okay, and do we have any questions and answer questions? Obviously not answers. Hopefully if anyone's emailed through questions, they won't have put the answers with them. Pauline, did you receive any questions at all?
Sorry, just on the meeting. No, I didn't receive any questions in advance as treasurer and company secretary. Okay,
I think actually just looking in the notes. Oh, just see if there's anything here. So Helen McPherson has asked whether or not the reunion photographic competition, etc., will be available on Zoom this year. It won't be available on Zoom at the reunion time, but the photographic competition will be shared online afterwards for those who want to see it, and the link will be shared with members afterwards, along with the AGM as well. The link for that will be shared as well, and obviously all the photographs will be shared on social media too. Also, just to let you know that if the pop-up shop is cash only and there's not cards, so make sure you bring your pennies with you, or your pounds. I think Marianne would rather see you with pounds rather than pennies. What's the situation on work parties from Chris Knapman? At the moment, there is no plans on doing work parties in the future, whether that will change, but also I believe that National Trust of Scotland aren't doing, or the National Trust, and neither of which are doing work parties. So it's not just St Kilda, it is across the board with both National Trust and National Trust of Scotland. How can members check that their subscription is gift aided? Keith, I'm guessing that you would know this. Are you the right person to direct them to? Keith, where are you? You're muted. Keith, can you unmute yourself? Keith, can you see? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I think I'm back in the room now. Is it? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I mean, we don't, compared to previous organisations we've been involved with, gift aid is not hugely taken up in the club. And I think people will probably be aware by now that we plan to introduce direct debit in the new year, and the spring mailing will contain not only direct debit, will be tailored to people who don't, or who we think don't have gift aid yet, to try and get them to sign up. There's an untapped audience for gift aid that I can see, and we want to make more money off it, because gift aid is money for old rope. If people can just sign up to it, that's all we need to worry about.
So Keith, if they're already a member, how can they sign up for it? Is that just an email to you? Would that cover that?
An email. We have to check on the wordings and stuff. There is the option if you're signing up online to do it, but there's no quick way on the website at the moment to say, oh well, I've been a member for a while. Yeah. Another thing we want to know too is if people aren't in the position to do gift aid, we'd like to know that, because we don't want to hassle them in the future either.
Okay.
So it really helps to know. But people can, if people are interested, they can email me. That's no problem at all. membership@stkildaclub.co.uk. If you can mention gift aid in the subject line, that would help me.
No, that's fine. So basically, if you're not sure if you've got gift aid or not, Keith would love to hear from you at membership@stkildaclub.
Yeah, and I can also, because some people have had declarations for years, I can also let them know if we know about them already. It's easy, and there's scope for a lot more income for the club in the next year or so as well. So,
maybe this is a project we need to think about as well. But yeah, if you're not sure and you want to find out, then obviously drop Keith an email.
I think it's part of direct debit and everything else that goes along with more automation, so that's no problem.
Yeah, well, there'll be something. We'll try and make sure we cover that. But if you do want to know, then just ask Keith. That'll be fine. Thanks, Keith. That's lovely.
Yeah, just that.
No, that's not a problem. So a couple more questions. Work parties. Why is that? What's preventing work parties? I believe it's an insurance issue. And it's something that, again, it's not really something that St Kilda Club is party to. We just know that there is an issue, and it's not just St Kilda, it is across the board with the National Trust for Scotland, and it is something to do with insurance, predominantly because of the way the work parties work. They're considered to be a package holiday, and that's what's causing the problem. So it is a lot more. It's not just they don't want to do them anymore, there is a logistical reason behind it, and it's something that they haven't yet resolved. Okay, next question. Results of the 2019 Seabirds census. That would be Susan, and she will be at the reunion on Saturday, and we'll try and find out a solution. I normally do an email out after our meeting on Saturday to everybody. So if I've got the information of that and there's a link, then I'll then be able to share it with you at that point as well. Oh, Sarah, sorry, you've answered the questions. It's going to be published very, very soon. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah. Veronica, the island shop used to be manned on in summer cruise, but not always work by volunteers. There is volunteers that go out to the island still, that which go out every year. So there is normally a volunteer on the island for most of the season. But that's different to the work parties, and that's something that the National Trust for Scotland organise, and not the St Kilda Club. Could we get club recruiters linked to boat operators in Oban as well as the day trips? Yeah, and again, that's something that we can certainly look into to get more contact with the boat operators to do it. But again, it's a case of one, having a list of all the boat operators and then getting in touch with them. And again, as most of you probably aware, that all of us are volunteers, and time is obviously a factor. So yes, it is something that would be good to do, and we can certainly have a look into that. Okay, I think that's all the questions that I can see. Oh, never new message. So if the NTS will not consider work parties, Steve, it's not that we work parties, there's different, again, insurance issues. We as a club, we are looking at an alternative, but again, our biggest issue is also going to be it's going to be insurance. And again, that's quite a big project, which is something that we are looking into, but it won't be for 2024. If anything is going to happen, it'll be 2025 at the very earliest. It's the logistics of getting people out to the island. It's not as easy. Plus, it's just a lot. It's just a lot harder to do. Plus, the fact the boat doesn't always run, so you've got people stuck up on the Outer Hebrides. What do you do with them? So there's lots of other things to consider. It's not just a case of just getting a boat out to the island. There's a lot of other things taking part. So it is something we're looking to do. But it's not something that's going to happen for 2024. These things take time, and there is things to happen. Yes, I agree, Chris, insurance is an absolute killjoy. And when I made the calls to look into the insurance, if you saw the 48-page application just to get a quote, you can see why it's taken a little bit longer than it. And also, it's a chicken and egg thing. I have to do all the logistics of what it would be to run something like this, to then run by the insurance to get a quote to see if it's even feasible to do. So it isn't an easy task just getting the insurance. So is it? And the insurance company have been dealing with St Kilda for a long time, so they understand the logistics behind it. We are working with National Trust for Scotland as well on this. so it is a case of, it's just a case of getting it sorted, so it's fine. So Helen, is camping still allowed on St Kilda? Yes, it is. You have to apply to the National Trust for Scotland. If you go onto the National Trust for Scotland website under St Kilda, there is a bit there, and you then have to email in to actually get your application, and the maximum you can camp is 5 days. Okay.
Julie, I don't know if you said anything about the question about the island shop being manned.
Oh, what did I miss?
I'm not sure. I didn't hear you say anything about it. I just
was
thought
that about volunteers on the islands? I said yes, there is volunteers, which is slightly different.
Yeah, but the point about the shop is that we would like eventually to have a better location for the shop for the long-term future on the island.
I missed that one.
However, that is going to, like other things, is going to take time. You heard sort of, the delays at the moment we have to the project to improve the church and school roof. So we're talking again to National Trust of Scotland about getting a better permanent home for the shop. And it has to be carefully located to be able to use the electronic equipment as well. It's not just, it's again, everything to do with St Kilda is always a major logistical exercise.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a hope to, in due course, return the shop to a kind of a bigger operation. But I think that won't be next summer, certainly. It'll be beyond next summer.
Yeah. And again, as Pauline says, it is a logistical nightmare. So if you think, oh, well, you could just build a shed and start running the shop out of a shed, you could do that like on mainland, but on St Kilda, you've got to get the materials out there, you've got to get the work people out there. There is just a whole other logistical things. Everything takes more time than it would if you could do it. And also the other issue is that St Kilda is a dual UNESCO World Heritage Site. Everything has to be run by them. UNESCO, National Trust of Scotland have got to be happy, Scottish Natural Heritage have got to be happy. So it's kind of like, to do anything, there is a whole list of people who have to be approving and everything else. So it's not just rocking up, building a shed and going, there you are, we've got a shop. It's a lot more difficult than that. So, and everything just takes more time. So and I think after being on the board for 10 years, we all get into that situation where we get used to that. It's not something that can happen quickly. So it's always a long-term project for everything we do. So, okay. Any more questions at all? I think hopefully I've covered everything. If anyone hasn't had their question covered, if you want to shout at me or raise an arm. Okay, I think that is everything then. So, Alistair, would you like to close the meeting for us? You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, you're just getting back at me from a computer letting me down earlier.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank all the participants in the meeting and all the attendees for coming, because without the membership here, we wouldn't have the quorum. We wouldn't be able to do anything. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your time. And fare thee well until the next week if you're going to be there. Next year if you're not. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you, hopefully we'll see you all on Saturday, as Alistair said. And I'm going to stop recording now, so that'll be the official bit over with.